Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick heads up. The second Global Product Owner Summit is coming soon. You can get all the details at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. And it's all lowercase, all one word. Oh, and stick with us until the end of the episode to know the dates and the tracks that we have for you in this year's summit. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Stephanie Colley. Hey, Stephanie, welcome back.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Stephanie, Team Tuesday is when we investigate what sometimes goes on in the teams that causes problems. But before we dive into that, do share with us, what was the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
This is a little bit of a surprising book for what would influence me, but I would say How to Think Like a Monk. And the reason that I say, did you want me to go a little bit more into why?
Yeah. So why do you think that book had such an influence on you?
So for me, there were two different things. So it's written by Jay Shetty. And one of the things that he talks about is showing up even when there is no one there. So he started off giving some teachings when he was starting off as a monk. And oftentimes he would show up and there would be nobody there and he would present anyway. And so over time, that helped him to build consistency and, just really understand what he was doing despite not having a lot of people listening. And then the other really interesting concept was around how it doesn't matter what level you are, everyone contributes in the same way. So meaning it doesn't mean if you've been a monk for a longer period of time or you're someone that is looked up to, but you might be sweeping the floors or you might be helping with meals. So everyone is a team player and it's not like, well, I don't feel like doing this job. Someone else can take over for this.
And from the perspective of the Scrum Master, let's start with the first one. Show up even if no one else is showing up. How do you translate that into your practice as a Scrum Master?
So showing up when nobody else is there, I wouldn't say that I would show up and there was nobody necessarily in a meeting, but a couple of examples I can think of. So the first one may be one of our main developers is missing. Has anyone heard from him? Does anyone know what's going on? So we're not just going to hold up the entire meeting because, one or two people don't show up. We still need to keep going, keep consistent as a team, and then really understanding what's going on there and showing up as a Scrum Master for your team regardless. So I've had this situation happen before. I showed up, one of the dev leads wasn't there, and it just seemed to me that all of the developers were looking to this person to kind of give updates or say like, this is the direction that the team is going in. And I really had to help the team understand that they should take ownership of that themselves. And it shouldn't just be on one person to be talking about blockers or understanding like, what are we actually building for the customers?
Absolutely. From my perspective, I think that also means, even though I haven't read the book, but from what you just explained, I think that also means showing up as always practicing the role of the Scrum Master, even when at some point it might feel like we want to drop into some other role, like a developer for those of us who have a developer background, or a tester for those of us who have a tester background. But showing up as a Scrum Master for me also means understanding what our role is there to do. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great point. I mean, whether it's talking about, okay, well, I've done business analysis before, or I've done development. Let me jump in here and start working on the actual product. Or the other thing could even be dealing with the challenges. So at one point, I had two developers that weren't getting along very well. And the one developer came to me and said, hey, I'm having a problem with this person. I really don't like how they treated this other person in a meeting. And this is one of the mistakes I had to learn from in my career is I was like, let me just jump in and solve all the problems for this person. And by doing that, you take away any growth that they have and learnings that they would take away from that conversation and just building that resilience and having tough conversations. So fortunately, I had a conversation. They're like, I want to use you as a sounding board. And I want to talk about how I don't like how this person is talking to other people. I don't like how they're talking over them. I don't like how I feel like they're making fun of the person for being slower to speak on certain topics. And so I really just did a role playing session with that person and asked them if they needed any additional support. And they ended up going out, having that conversation with the other developer, and it went a lot better than they expected it to. So the person was pretty open-minded about it. And from there on out, they were way more respectful of their team members.
And
So
actually, what the story that you just told me, that you just shared, helped me understand that the message can also be help others show up, right? Like you help that developer show up instead of hiding behind the Scrum Master and asking the Scrum Master to solve the communication issues.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Definitely an inspiring story. That's How to Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, and I'll put the link on the show notes so that people can go and check it out. Stephanie, but of course, today's Tuesday, we talk about teams as well. And when it comes to teams, we know that sometimes they get themselves in trouble, whether it is because of some behaviors or practices they have, whatever that is, it usually starts small and grows and becomes a problem for the team. So share one of those stories. Tell us a little bit about the context so that we know more or less what kind of team and what kind of work they were doing. And then walk us through those little small behaviors that over time developed and became a problem for the team.
Yeah, I love this question. So a specific example that came up where the team started off with a little bit of challenges and did some things that we probably shouldn't have done and just exploded over time was when we were going from working on just some general reporting tools to building out a new application. And with that involved coming up with an actual design that's easy for the customers to use, actually provides what the customers need. And there was such tension, the same product owner, between the product owner and the developers. And the developers felt like, okay, we can do some mock-ups, we can do some UX designs. If we show it to the product owner, they're so in the weeds of this button needs to go here, this needs to work this way, rather than saying the customer needs to do X, Y, Z so that they can achieve this goal. It was just so focused on the nitty-gritty details. So I actually this is one of my regrets. I contributed to the problem, at least initially. It was a huge learning experience for me. And so we kept it in silos where it would be like, well, let's work on this, and then we'll later on go show the product owner. And in an ideal situation, there's that constant communication and feedback because you go off, one of the developers can go off and let's say they start designing it and they've gotten a week in and it's nowhere near what the customer actually wanted. They misinterpreted what the goals were. The product owner could have easily stepped in and said, okay, wait, what about this right here? And how does the customer do this? So we were kind of I was helping shield the developers from that. And then we would have conversations. And at one point, this didn't help that we weren't co-located, but I was based in New Jersey with a team. This other person was on the other side of the US. And they're like, okay, I really want to see the design. And I had taken a picture on my phone and sent it over through Slack to the product owner. And this just lit a fire under him. He was so angry because he thought that we were hiding the most recent designs. He thought that, it was at a point where we could share it out and be more collaborative. And that wasn't my intention at all. It was just where we were in the day with the conversation. The better thing to do would have been, hey, let's invite you into the meeting. Let's get your feedback. Let's work as a team on this and ask each other questions, throw out ideas. And it's okay to disagree, but just be respectful in terms of the feedback and the changes that we're making. So it turned into a huge misunderstanding. I ended up having a conversation with the product owner and apologizing for that and had a conversation with the team. And we all just said, okay, going forward, we need to be way more transparent. We need to work together instead of it being a us against them, or a you're not going to tell me what to do, or whatever the situation may be. So from that point forward, we started having sessions together and working on it, and it ended up being able to deliver a better product for the customer in the end that they actually wanted, that they could actually use and achieve the company's goals.
Absolutely. So one of the things that comes to me from this story is this idea that the behavior by someone can mean several things. And for example, the topic of the PO wanting to tell the developers where the button should go can be easily perceived as micromanaging, which it probably was in fact, but it can also be perceived as a worry, as a concern about how to design something for a particular purpose or use. And one of the things that I think is very powerful for us as Scrum Masters is to inquire, to be curious about the intentions of the behavior, right? Because the behavior can be annoying, create mistrust, can be frustrating. There are many things that the behavior can be or cause, but understanding why helps us also connect with the person that is on the other side, right? Like, okay, so I see you are worrying about where the button is going to be placed and what exactly the text says in this interface, but why are you worried about this? What are the things that make you want to make sure that things happen exactly as you expect them? Now, I'm not saying that this would magically open up and create an understanding, but at least we can be curious about why that behavior is there, right? Because we don't really know. There could be so many reasons.
Right. I think the other thing that really helped us too, and I would say this ended up making him an amazing product owner, is not acting as a barrier between us and stakeholders. So he eventually started offering support of, hey, if you ever, especially in a very technical area, working with field engineers, if you ever need more insight from the actual customer who's using it and what their journey is, we can bring them in and they can do kind of like if you want to call it a ride along or whatever the situation may be. And it allowed the developers to have direct conversations. We wouldn't just wait until launch. We wouldn't just push it out into production. The team members were sitting down, walking the customers through it, and it ended up being a better experience for them in the long run. And it ended up saving a lot of money and time as well.
And this is also an example of how a bad situation can turn into a great situation if we are open for what it is telling us, right? Like if we are open to see, oh, maybe there's something different than what we expect that is going on, and that's what's causing the tension. And taking a humble position, apologizing is, hey, let's start again. Like what is going on? How do you experience this? How can we help you? Here's our perspective as well, because it's not about just accepting everything the PO has to say, but also trying to create mutual understanding in both directions.
Exactly.
Great story. Thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around and listening to the details of the Product Owner Summit, this year's global summit dedicated to a critical Scrum role, the product owner role, of course. We'll have some amazing keynotes and 4 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. The summit will take place between April 23rd and 25th, so book your calendars. There will be loads of sessions for you to attend. One of the keynotes will be Dave West, the product owner and CEO at Scrum.org, one of the largest Scrum organizations in the world. If you want to know more, check out the details at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/product owner 2024. We will also have 4 tracks. The 4 tracks will cover cross-functional product ownership. That's track 1. As Pixar's Ratatouille said, not every idea can be a great idea, but a great idea can come from anywhere. And this quote emphasizes the importance of a product owner being open to all ideas, regardless of the source, and also challenges us to focus on getting good ideas from everywhere and involving the whole team in the product owner role and responsibilities. The second track is designing products for growth, where we explore how to craft products ready for scalable growth, merging practical strategies with innovation. The idea here is to learn to design products for growth, whether it is sales or customer acquisition. The third track is know your users, user-centric approaches for agile development. In this track, we learn to master user-centric techniques in agile development, to deeply understand customer needs and transform insights into meaningful UX designs that focus on engagement and satisfaction. This is a track ideal for innovation-focused agile teams. And the fourth track, one of the most exciting tracks in my opinion, is product development with AI, ideas for product owners. Not only do we discuss about using AI in the products, but also AI for product owners to learn to make a bigger impact with the help of the AI tools that we already have. The Product Owner Summit will also present to you great opportunities to network with your peers. So get your ticket and join our Slack. You can get the ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. As always, we have free tickets and also the paid tickets that help to support this podcast. So check them out at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's all lowercase, all one word, Product Owner 2024. I'll see you in the summit floor.